Hamas claims that it's showing flexibility to reach a ceasefire as pressure to secure a deal to pause fighting in Gaza rises, with an unofficial deadline fast approaching. Our negotiators for the last 3 days have been trying to secure a 6-week truce between Israel and Hamas in time for the Muslim holy month of Ramadan next week. The Hamas delegation says that it will remain in Cairo for another day of talks, despite the absence of Israeli negotiators. The militant group released a statement pledging to continue negotiations until an agreement is reached. US President Joe Biden has urged Hamas to agree to a deal as soon as possible. But Hamas had earlier claimed that Israel has refused demands to allow Palestinians who fled northern Gaza to return, alongside guarantees of a ceasefire and full withdrawal of troops. Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz is set to meet UK Foreign Minister David Cameron later today as part of his unsanctioned visits to the United States and to Britain. Mr. Cameron warns that the UK's patience with Israel is running thin over the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Israel is the occupying power. It is responsible. And that has consequences, including in how we look at whether Israel is compliant with international humanitarian law. So I think that is the most important thing on the issue of Gaza.
All this occurring against the backdrop of an intensifying Israeli offensive in Gaza, with reports saying aid delivery there has collapsed. The WHO chief has urged Israel to ensure humanitarian assistance can be transported safely. Amid accusations, the country is hindering the distribution of much-needed supplies. Several nations, including the United States, have been airdropping food into Gaza in a bid to alleviate famine and hunger. But critics say it's not enough. At least 15 children in a single hospital have reportedly died from malnutrition. For more, Alex Cadier joins us. He's live for us from Tel Aviv. Alex, negotiators attempting to secure a truce before the start of Ramadan. Any signs of a breakthrough there?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those negotiations still working. No breakthrough yet. That is the latest we have. We have representatives from Hamas saying that Israel is, quote, evading the entitlements of this agreement. But clearly the U.S. administration does not share that view, saying that the onus is now firmly on Hamas to accept the terms set in these negotiations, terms that President Biden said Israel had agreed to, a 6-week truce which would kick in once a deal is reached, or shortly thereafter, would be it needs to be negotiated before March 10th. And that is that looming deadline, 4 days away now for the start of Ramadan, for the moment where the Israeli government said it would launch an operation into Rafah, an operation that has been very firmly rejected by a lot of Israel's allies, particularly by the United States, the United Kingdom and others. So that negotiation really against that backdrop you were mentioning of the profound human suffering in Gaza and the suffering of the families of the hostages here in Israel, really showing the urgency of those talks and for a breakthrough to be reached.
Well, meanwhile, Israeli opposition leader and war cabinet member Benny Gantz, Alex, he's on the last leg of this unsanctioned diplomatic tour. That's going to conclude. He went to the United States. He was in D.C. already. He's in the UK now. There are reports that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he resents Mr. Gantz's trips. Do these visits, though, betray some kind of fractures in the Israeli government's approach to the war in Gaza right now?
Well, it's more than resentment, actually. Israeli media reported that the Prime Minister was fuming at Benny Gantz's trip to the United States and ordered Israeli embassy staff in Washington not to assist Mr. Gantz in any way in his diplomatic visit to the United States. But then beyond that, and there was certainly a lot of pushback and criticism from politicians, including those in government here in Israel, of Mr. Gantz's trip, saying that it is enabling the United States to enter into discussions about maybe more permanent two-state solutions, something that a lot of Israeli politicians reject. And so that criticism leveled at Mr. Gantz here in Israel, but also those meetings in the United States were incredibly tough, very harsh criticism from the United States. And again, today we heard David Cameron, you just heard from him, Very harsh criticism of Benny Gantz on those trips, and more harsh criticism here when he comes back to Israel.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that. Alex Cadier there, live for us in Tel Aviv.